Hello, I'm back with another Am I the A-hole? I have not read this one. Honestly, I don't read any of these beforehand, so I'd like to experience this with you. I feel like this is going to be in the same under the umbrella of decentering men. Maybe some I have a feeling that the stepdad probably doesn't like. I don't know. So let's find out together. Also, hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Shayna. I'm a journalist. I talk a lot about decentering men, child-free living, and I write a lot about food, travel, the political intersections of all these things for my full-time job. So if any of that sounds like a vibe, please like, share, subscribe. I'm looking at you, do it. And now, let's dive in. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he shouldn't be upset when my daughter said that her uncle would be the one to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day? I feel like the answer is no. I feel like you're not the a-hole just from that question alone, but I have not been wrong before. Let's continue. Note using fake names, and please be kind. My English is not my first language. Say less. I, 46 female, got pregnant with my daughter Sarah, 26 female, when I was in college. My parents and my then boyfriend's parents pushed us to marry, which we did. My late husband unfortunately passed away a week after our daughter's second birthday because of a heart complication that we did not even know he had. Yikes. Yikes. That's unfortunate. It was a very hard time for me, and I went through a very bad depression, understandably so. So sorry for your loss. 4 years later, I met my now husband, Robert, 46M. Now he's 46M, yes. On a blind date set up by a friend. He was one of my best friend's cousins. He was we hit it off and got married a year later. And listen, you like it? I love it. Little fast for Shayna, but hey, what you gonna do? Let's continue. Oop, I want to be up here instead. When we were dating, he was very hands-on with my daughter, and it did not take too long for my daughter to call him Papa. Yeah, she was like 6. Even until we got married, and when I got pregnant 2 years into the marriage, it gave birth to twins, 17 male and female. He still acted like a father to Sarah. She was even included in my husband's family reunions and the cousin group photo shoot that my in-laws organize every Christmas. Things took a bit of a turn when Sarah turned 18. She started calling him by his first name, and both Robert and I were taken aback with the change of attitude she was displaying. I asked Robert what was that about, but he only shrugged, not knowing the reason too. I thought things would go back to normal, but she'd been consistent in calling him by his first name, so I asked her if we could talk. Robert asked if he could join, which Sarah agreed. To make things short, my daughter overheard my husband talking about a Father's Day trip to his friend who owns a hostel. His friend asked if he forgot to include Sarah, since my husband only asked him to prepare 3 bedrooms. My husband replied that he planned this trip for his real children only. It wouldn't make sense if Sarah was on the trip since he wasn't her real father. This made Sarah feel betrayed and hurt because she saw him as her real dad, even if she only knew that he was her stepdad. My husband tried to explain to her my husband tried to explain to her that though he loves her as a father, his love for the twins is different since they are his real children. I'm going to keep reading. I got thoughts. Okay, I wanted to just shut him up because he was overusing the word real, but Sarah told us to leave the room. Right underneath. What made that day even more depressing was that this day was her last week with us before she leaves the country for college. Since then, every time she comes home, Sarah acts like nothing happened but continues to call Robert by his first name. Robert didn't want to add fuel to the fire and just tolerated it. And now, a few years since then, my daughter announced her engagement to her longtime boyfriend. We were very happy for her as they had been dating since they were still college freshmen. 2 weeks before the wedding, we were wondering who would be walking Sarah down the aisle. I assumed it would be Robert since I thought we moved past that incident. But no. My daughter scoffed at me when I told her about Robert walking her down the aisle. She said, I thought it was obvious that Uncle Greg, my late husband's brother, would be the one to do that. Besides, I'm not his real daughter. It wouldn't make sense if he walked me down the aisle. I did not talk back, instead apologized for my ignorance and told her that I'll speak with Robert about it, since he also assumed that he'd be the one to walk her down the aisle. When I told him what Sarah said, he was pissed, but I politely reminded him of the incident years ago, which made him even more upset. He said that it was a long time ago and that Sarah should move on. I, who was offended for my daughter, told him that he shouldn't be upset since he doesn't see her as his real child anyway. He then got teary-eyed and told me not to speak to him. I can't deal with men. He still attended Sarah's wedding but looked visibly down. We still aren't on good terms and have been pretending in front of relatives. My daughter does not know about this and I want to keep it that way. But nevertheless, it's been a week since my daughter's wedding and Robert is still upset. He only talks to me about the twins and household stuff, but beyond that, he keeps everything to himself. I feel really bad and think he is acting this way because of me. So, with that being said, am I the a-hole? Ma'am, you could not be farther from the a-hole if you were on somebody else's upper body. Men really do forget that their actions have consequences. And just because we're not talking about it actively in front of them, they're like, oh, it's like object permanence. It's like, oh, I did a thing and there's an action. This I'm looking at, this is going to be the consequence, and then you put it down and they go, oh, no consequence. That's nice. It's right here. It's right here. But and now he's sad and he's mopey, but he made a point and she didn't want to bring it up. He said what he said. She heard, she listened, she accepted. It hurt deeply. She continued on with her life. He didn't talk about it. She didn't talk about it. Mutual understanding. I am not your child. So I will find somebody that I am blood related to walk me down the aisle because they at least consider me a real family member. Your actions have consequences, and he feels that way. And he feels that she's not really family. And this brings me to a point that I talk about all the time. The vast majority of men, and when I say vast, I really do mean like 98% of men, clock children as a form of property. Yes, he loves Sarah. Yes, he cares for her. But yes, he feels like he's taking care of somebody else's property. And then the mom gave birth to children that are biologically related to him. And he said, oh, these are now my property. Oh my gosh, I know the difference between like taking care of somebody else's toy, between taking care of my toy. Clearly, I love this other toy, but like this is mine. It happens time and time again. And the only people that really are hurt by this are the children. Sarah. Well, I hope Sarah's having a great honeymoon, and homeboy can continue to sit in his feelings. He can continue to weep in the bathtub to whatever power ballads he wants to play. He can have his whole Scorpio moment of angst if it makes him feel better temporarily. But at the end of the day, he made his choice. Mom, you're not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole. Sarah's not the a-hole. Dad, it's a-hole feelings that he has, being like, you're not my real kid. But guess what? He's one of many. And that does mean that there are a lot of a-holes. And he's allowed to feel however he feels. And he's allowed to have all the actions for whatever he feels. And it is what it is. These are my thoughts, though. Love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Tippity type them away. I'm going to talk to you guys later. Bye.